The Bagrationi dynasty is a royal family that reigned in Georgia from the Middle Ages until the early 19th century, being among the oldest extant Christian ruling dynasties in the world. In modern usage, this royal line is often referred to as the Georgian Bagratids, also known in English as the Bagrations. After fragmentation of the unified Kingdom of Georgia in the late 15th century, the branches of the Bagrationi dynasty ruled the three breakaway Georgian kingdoms: Kingdom of Kartli, Kingdom of Kakheti, and Kingdom of Imereti, until Russian annexation in the early 19th century, while the Treaty of Georgievsk's third article guaranteed continued sovereignty for the Bagrationi dynasty and their continued presence on the Georgian throne. The Russian crown later broke the terms of the treaty, and the treaty became an illegal annexation. The dynasty persisted within the Russia Empire as an imperial Russian noble family until the 1917 February Revolution. The establishment of the Soviet rule in Georgia in 1921 forced some members of the family to accept demoted status and loss of property in Georgia. Others relocated to Western Europe, although some repatriated after Georgian independence in 1991. Origins. The Bagrationi dynasty has been reputed the oldest royal dynasty in Europe, although Walter Curley's monarchs-in-waiting attributes the distinction to the Capetians of France, as does Joseph Valenciennes Les Prétendants au Trône d'Europe, who still reign in Spain and Luxembourg, while L.G. Pine contends that the Irish ruler, Niall of the Nine Hostages, Florida, in the early 5th century CE also has living heirs, although, like the Bagrationi, no longer reigning. According to a family legend, taken down by the 11th century Georgian chronicler Sumbat Davitis DZE, and supplied much later by Prince Vakashti Bagrationi with chronological data, the ancestors of the dynasty traced their descent to the biblical king and prophet David and came from Palestine around 530 AD. Tradition has it that of 7 refugee brothers of the Davidic line, 3 of them settled in Armenia and the other 4 arrived in Kartli, where they intermarried with the local ruling houses and acquired some lands in hereditary possession. One of the 4 brothers, Garam, allegedly founded a line subsequently called Bagrationi after his son Bagrat. A successor, Garam, was installed as a presiding prince of Kartli under the Byzantine Protectorate, receiving on this occasion the Byzantine court title of Kouropalates in 575. Thus, according to this version, began the dynasty of the Bagratids, who ruled until 1801. This tradition enjoyed general acceptance until the early 20th century, while the Jewish origin, let alone the biblical descent, of the Bagratids has been largely discounted by modern scholarship. Their origin still remains controversial. Several Soviet-era historians of Georgia developed a view summarized by N. Berdzanishvili al. in the Standard Reference Book on the History of Georgia. Modern scholars, however, question the above version, referring to a more complex analysis of primary Armenian and Georgian sources. Cyril Tumanov's research concluded that the Georgian Bagratids branched out of the Armenian Bagratid dynasty in the person of Adarnes, whose father Vasik passed to Kartli following an abortive uprising against Arab rule in 775. Adarnes's son, Ashot I, acquired the Principality of Kartli in 813 and thus founded the last royal house of Georgia. Accordingly, the legend of the Davidic origin of the Georgian Bagratids was a further development of the earlier claim entertained by the Armenian dynasty, as given in the work of the Armenian author Moses of Chorene. Once the Georgian branch, which had quickly acculturated in the new environment, assumed royal power, the myth of the biblical origin helped to assert the legitimacy and became a major ideological pillar of the millennium-long Bagrationi rule in Georgia. Although certain, the generation-by-generation history of the Bagrationi dynasty begins only in the late 8th century. Tumanov claimed that the first Georgian branch of the Bagratids may be traced as far back as the 2nd century AD, when they were said to rule over the princedom of Otska in what is now southern Georgia. The Otska line, known in the medieval annals as the Bagrationi, lasted until the 5th century AD. They cannot, however, be considered the direct ancestors of the later Bagratids who eventually restored Georgian royal authority. History. Early dynasty. The Bagrationi family had grown in prominence by the time the Georgian monarchy fell to the Sassanid Persian Empire in the 6th century, and the leading local princely families were exhausted by Arab attacks. The rise of the new dynasty was made possible by the extinction of the Garamids and the near extinction of the Chosroids, and also by the Abbasid preoccupation with their own civil wars and conflict with the Byzantine Empire. Although Arab rule did not allow them a foothold in the ancient capital of Tbilisi and eastern Kartli, the Bagratids successfully maintained their initial domain in Kakheti and Samtska and, under the Byzantine protectorate, extended the possessions southward into the northwestern Armenian marches to form a large polity conventionally known in modern history as Kakheti. In 813, the new dynasty acquired, with Ashot I, the hereditary title of presiding prince of Iberia, to which the emperor attached the honorific of Kouripalats. Despite the revitalization of the monarchy, Georgian lands remained divided among rival authorities, with Tbilisi remaining in Arab hands. The sons and grandsons of Ashot I established three separate branches, the lines of Kartli, Tau, and Kakheti, frequently struggling with each other and with neighboring rulers. The Kartli line prevailed. In 888, with Dynasty, it restored the indigenous Georgian royal authority dormant since 580. His descendant Bagrat III was able to consolidate his inheritance in Kakheti and the Abkhazian kingdom, due largely to the diplomacy and conquests of his energetic foster father David III of Tau. Golden Age. This unified monarchy maintained its precarious independence from the Byzantine and Seljuk empires throughout the 11th century, flourished under David IV the Builder, who repelled the Seljuk attacks and essentially completed the unification of Georgia with the reconquest of Tbilisi in 1122. With the decline of Byzantine power and the dissolution of the Great Seljuk Empire, Georgia became one of the preeminent nations of the Christian East, her Pan-Caucasian empire stretching, at its largest extent, for the North Caucasus to northern Iran, and eastwards into Asia Minor. In spite of repeated incidents of dynastic strife, the kingdom continued to prosper during the reigns of Dmitry I, George III, and especially his daughter Tamar the Great. With the death of George III, the main male line became extinct and the dynasty continued through the marriage of Queen Tamar with the Alan prince, David Soslin, of reputed Bagratid descent. Downfall. The invasions by the Khwarezmians in 1225 and the Mongols in 1236 terminated Georgia's Golden Age. The struggle against the Mongol rule created a diarchy, with an ambitious lateral branch of the Bagrationi dynasty holding sway over western Georgia. There was a brief period of reunion and revival under George V the Brilliant, but the eight onslaughts of the Turco-Mongol conqueror Timur between 1386 and 1403 dealt a great blow to the Georgian kingdom. About a century later, its unity was finally shattered by the aggressive in Persia-based rivaling ruling Turkic federations, the Karakoyunlu and the Atkoyunlu, by 1490. The once powerful monarchy fragmented into three independent kingdoms, Kartli, Kakheti, and Imereti, each led by a rival branch of the Bagrationi dynasty, and into five semi-independent principalities: Adisha, Mingrelia, Guria, Abkhazia, Svaneti, and Samtska, dominated by their own feudal clans. During the three subsequent centuries, the Georgian rulers maintained the perilous autonomy as subjects under the Turkish Ottoman and Persian Safavid, Afsharid, and Qajar domination, although sometimes serving as little more than puppets in the hands of the powerful suzerains. The line of Imereti, incessantly embroiled in civil war, continued with many breaks in succession, and the kingdom was only relatively spared from the encroachments of its Ottoman suzerains, while Kartli and Kakheti were similarly subjected to its Persian overlords, whose efforts to annihilate the fractious vassal kingdoms were in vain, and the two eastern Georgian monarchies, though occasionally losing full independence in the course of their history, survived to be reunified in 1762 under King Erikl II, who united in his person both the Kakhetian and Kartlian lines, the latter surviving in male descent in the branch of Mukraneli since 1658, last monarchs having gained de facto independence from Persia in 1747 following the death of Nader Shah. Erikl II achieved a degree of stability in the country and established political hegemony in eastern Transcaucasia. With the ensuing chaos in mainland Iran, Erikl managed to maintain Georgia's autonomy throughout the entire Sand period. In the 1783 Treaty of Georgievsk, he placed his kingdom under the protection of Imperial Russia. The latter failed, however, to provide timely help when the Persian ruler Aga Muhammad Khan Qajar captured, sacked and ravaged Tbilisi in 1795 to compel severance of Georgian ties to Russia, as he sought to re-establish full Persian suzerainty over Georgia. After the death of Erikl in 1798, his son and successor, King George XII, renewed a request for protection from Emperor Paul I of Russia, and urged him to intervene in the bitter dynastic feud among the numerous sons and grandsons of the late Erikl. Paul offered to incorporate the kingdom of Kartli and Kakheti into the Russian Empire, while reserving to its native dynasty a degree of internal autonomy, essentially mediatization, and in 1799 the Russians marched into Tbilisi. Negotiations of terms were still in process when Paul signed a manifesto on December 18, 1800, unilaterally declaring the annexation of Kartli Kakheti to the Russian Empire. This proclamation was kept secret until the death of King George on December 28. His eldest son, the Tsarevich David, had been formally acknowledged as heir apparent by Emperor Paul on 18 April 1799, but his accession as king after his father's death was not recognized. On September 12, 1801, Emperor Alexander I of Russia formally reaffirmed Paul's determination, deposing the Bagrationi dynasty from the Georgian throne. Although divided among themselves, some of the Bagrationi princes resisted Russian annexation, trying to instigate rebellion. Most of them were subsequently arrested and deported from Georgia. The reign of the House of Imereti came to an end less than a decade later. On April 25, 1804, the Imeretian king Solomon II, nominally an Ottoman vassal, was persuaded to conclude the Convention of Elaznauri with Russia, on terms similar to those of the Treaty of Georgievsk, yet the Russian forces dethroned Solomon on February 20, 1810. Defeated during a subsequent rebellion to regain power, he died in exile in Trabzon, Ottoman Turkey, in 1815. Bagrationi in Russia. In the Russian Empire, the Bagrations became a prominent family of aristocrats. The most famous was Prince Pyotr Bagration, a great-grandson of King Jerzy of Kartli, who became a Russian general and hero of the Patriotic War of 1812. His brother Prince Roman Bagration also became a Russian general, distinguishing himself in the Russo-Persian War, and was the first to enter Yerevan in 1827. Roman Bagration was also known for his patronage of the arts, literature and theatre. His home theatre in Tbilisi was regarded as one of the finest in the Caucasus. His son Prince Pyotr Romanovich Bagration became governor of the Tver region and later governor-general of the Baltic provinces. He was also a metallurgic engineer known for the development of gold cyanidation in Russia. Prince Dmitry Petrovich Bagration was a Russian general who fought in World War I in the Brusilov offensive and later joined the Red Army. Bagrationi today. The majority of the Bagrationi family left Georgia after the Red Army took over Tbilisi in 1921. Makrani branch, whereas the Bagration Makraneli were a cadet branch of the former royal house of Kartli. They became the genealogically senior-most line of the Bagrationi family in the early 20th century, yet this elder branch had lost the rule of Kartli by 1724, retaining that of the Principality of Makrani until its annexation by Russia along with Kartli Kakheti in 1800. A member of this branch, Princess Leonida Georgievna Bagration-Ukransky, married Vladimir Cyrilovich, Grand Duke of Russia, and became the mother of one of the claimants to the Romanov legacy, Maria Vladimirovna, Grand Duchess of Russia. In 1942, Prince Irakli Bagrationi Makraneli, of the genealogically senior branch of the dynasty, proclaimed himself head of the royal house of Georgia. In the absence of evidence that Bagrations of the Kakhetian branch still survived behind the Iron Curtain, he founded the Union of Georgian Traditionalists in Exile. His second wife, Maria Antonietta Pasquini, daughter of Ugard Count di Costa Fiorita, bore him a son and heir, but died in childbirth in February 1944. In August 1946, the widower married Princess Maria Mercedes de Baviera y Bourbon, a granddaughter of King Alfonso XII and daughter of Don Fernando de Baviera y Bourbon, who had renounced his royal rights in Bavaria to become a naturalized infante in Spain. Beginning in the 1990s, senior members of the Bagrationi Makraneli descendants began repatriating to Georgia from Spain, ending generations of exile. Iraqi's elder son, Prince Georgi Bagrationi Makraneli, was officially recognized by government and church leaders when he brought his father's remains from Spain to rest with those of his ancestors in Svetitsko Veli Cathedral at Mtsk in 1995, and took up residence in Tbilisi in 2005, where he died. His eldest son, Prince Irakli, born 1972, moved to Georgia in 1999 and, although previously embraced as a future pretender to the throne by some Georgian monarchists, has moved back to Spain and deferred his own dynastic claim since the death of his father in 2008 to that of his younger brother, Prince David. David took up residence in Tbilisi, obtained Georgian citizenship, claimed the Makraneli dynastic titles, and became head of the family council. The Bagration Makraneli is the senior surviving legitimate branch of the Bagration patrilineage, descending directly from King Constantine II of Georgia. Nonetheless, mitigating the claim of Prince David Bagrationi Makraneli to the Georgian throne is the fact that the Makraneli branch has not reigned as kings in Georgia since the 18th century. Gruzensky branch. The Bagration-Gruzensky line, although junior to the princes of Makrani, genealogically reigned over the kingdom of Kakheti, reunited the two realms in the kingdom of Kartli Kakheti in 1762, and did not lose sovereignty until Russian annexation in 1800. Prince Nugzar Petrovich Bagration-Gruzensky is the most senior known patrilineal descendant of Kartli Kakheti's last king, George XII, and is, as such, head of the Kakhetian branch of the dynasty which, although genealogically junior to the Makranelis, has reigned more recently, not having lost the throne of a Georgian kingdom until 1800. Nugzar is well known in Georgia because he has lived his entire life in Tbilisi, and experienced with other Georgians both the country's subordination to the Soviet regime and its liberation since 1991. A theatrical and cinema director. His father, Prince Petrovich Bagration-Gruzensky, was a poet and authored lyrics to the anthem, Song of Tiflis. As Nugzar has no male issue, Prince Evgeny Petrovich Gruzensky, the great-great-grandson of Bagrat's younger brother Ilya, who lives in the Russian Federation, is considered to be an heir presumptive within the same primogeniture principle. Nugzar himself argues in favor of having his eldest daughter, Anna, designated as his heir. Imereti branch. Various sources present two different lines as the head of the House of Imereti, potential claimants to the long-defunct Kingdom of Imereti, the last of the three Georgian kingdoms to lose its independence in 1810. The male line descending from the deposed David II of Imereti became extinct in 1978 when Prince Konstantin Imeretinsky died. He was survived by three daughters of his elder brother. The second claim names another branch descending from Prince Bagrat's younger son as heir to headship of the house. This line survives in the male line and is headed by Prince David Bagrationi. Union of Bagrationi branches. Prince Nugzar's daughter, Princess Anna, a divorced teacher and journalist with two daughters, married Prince David Bagrationi Makraneli. On 8 February 2009 at the Tbilisi Samiba Cathedral, the marriage united the Gruzensky and Makrani branches of the Georgian royal family, and drew a crowd of 3,000 spectators, officials, and foreign diplomats, as well as extensive coverage by the Georgian media. The dynastic significance of the wedding lay in the fact that, amidst the turmoil in political partisanship that has roiled Georgia since its independence in 1991, Patriarch Ilya II of Georgia publicly called for restoration of the monarchy as a path toward national unity in October 2007. Although this led some politicians and parties to entertain the notion of a Georgian constitutional monarchy, competition arose among the old dynasty's princes and supporters, as historians and jurists debated which Bagrationi has the strongest hereditary right to a throne that has been vacant for 2 centuries. Although some Georgian monarchists support the Gruzensky branch's claim, others support that of the repatriated Makraneli branch. Both branches descend from the medieval kings of Georgia down to Constantine II of Georgia, who died in 1505, and continue in unbroken, legitimate male line into the 21st century. David is the only member of his branch who retains Georgian citizenship and residence since the death of his father, Prince George Bagration Makraneli, in 2008. Aside from his unmarried elder brother Irakli, David is the heir male of the Bagrationi family, while the bride's father is the most senior descendant of the last Bagrationi to reign over the United Kingdom of Eastern Georgia. The marriage between Nugzar Gruzensky's heiress and the Makrani heir may resolve the rivalry for the claim to the throne. Prince David and Princess Anna became the parents of a boy on September 27, 2011, Prince Georgian Bagrationi, who, in his person, potentially unites the Macronelli and Gruzensky claims. If no other Bagrationi prince is born in either the Gruzensky or Macronelli branch, who is of senior descent by primogeniture, and he survives those now living, Prince Georgi will become the heir male of the House of Bagrationi and the heir general of George XIII of Georgia. Gallery of some Georgian monarchs of Bagrationi dynasty.